The smell hit me first, expensive cologne mixed with something else I couldn't quite place. Standing in my own bedroom doorway at 3 in the afternoon, I watched my wife Saddie scramble to pull the sheets over herself and the man lying next to her. The man who wasn't me. "Tom," Saddie's voice cracked like a whip. "What are you doing home?" Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. What was I doing home? I'd been an HVAC repairman for 15 years, and I'd never once had to explain why I came home to my own house. The job at the Morrison place had finished early, and I'd thought I'd surprise my wife. Surprise was right. The man in my bed sat up slowly, and I recognized him immediately. Derek Hoffman, Saddie's brother-in-law, her sister Jessica's husband, the same Derek who'd been coming to our family barbecues for the past 8 years, shaking my hand, drinking my beer, and apparently planning to sleep with my wife. "Tom, listen," Derek started, but I held up my hand. "Don't." My voice came out calmer than I felt. "Just don't." I'd always prided myself on being a logical man. Fix the problem, don't just complain about it. But standing there, watching my wife of 12 years clutch a bedsheet to her chest while her brother-in-law reached for his pants, logic seemed like a foreign concept. "This isn't what it looks like," Saddie said, which had to be the stupidest thing anyone had ever said in the history of stupid things. "Really? Because it looks like you're having intimacy with your sister's husband in our bed." I leaned against the doorframe, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "So, what is it then? Yoga?" Derek had managed to get his pants on and was looking around frantically for his shirt. "Tom, man, we need to talk about this." "No, we really don't." I stepped aside as he tried to push past me. "But you might want to talk to Jessica. I'm sure she'll be interested in your afternoon activities." The color drained from Derek's face. "You can't tell Jessica. It would destroy her." "Should have thought about that before you decided to destroy my marriage." Saddie finally found her voice. "Tom, please, we can work this out. It was a mistake." "A mistake? Like forgetting to pick up milk at the store or leaving the garage door open. Not like a year-long affair that I was only now beginning to understand. All those late nights when she said she was helping Jessica with the kids. All those weekend trips to visit her sister. All those times Derek just happened to show up when I was at work." "How long?" I asked. They looked at each other, and that look told me everything I needed to know. "How long, Saddie?" 14 months, she whispered. 14 months, more than a year of lies, of coming home to kiss a wife who'd been with another man. More than a year of family dinners, where I'd passed Derek the potatoes and asked about his job while he was planning his next encounter with my wife. "Get out," I said to Derek. He didn't argue. He grabbed his shirt and shoes and practically ran for the door. I heard his car start in the driveway, tires squealing as he pulled away like the coward he was. Saddie was crying now, real tears streaming down her face. "Tom, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen." "But it did happen. For 14 months it happened." She wrapped the sheet around herself and stood up. Even now, even in this moment, she was beautiful. That's what made it hurt so much worse. "We can get counseling. We can fix this. Can we fix the fact that you've been lying to me for over a year? Can we fix the fact that you've been sleeping with your sister's husband? Can we fix the fact that every time I kissed you, I was tasting another man?" She flinched at that, but I wasn't done. "Can we fix the fact that every family gathering, every holiday, every birthday party, you and Derek were looking at each other and remembering what you'd done? While I was playing with Jessica's kids and thinking about how lucky I was to have such a close family. Tom, get dressed. We'll talk later." I left her standing there and walked to the kitchen. My hands were shaking as I opened a beer, but my mind was surprisingly clear. This wasn't just about Saddie cheating. This was about the systematic destruction of everything I'd thought was real in my life. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts, until I found Jessica's number. My finger hovered over the call button for a long moment. Jessica was 8 months pregnant with their third child. Did she deserve to know? Did she deserve to have her world destroyed the way mine just had been? Before I could decide, my phone rang. It was my best friend Mike. "Hey man, you want to grab a beer tonight? Jenna's taking the kids to her mother's, so I'm free." Mike, my best friend since high school, the guy who'd been my best man at my wedding, the guy who'd helped me move into this house, who'd spent countless weekends working on projects with me, who knew everything about my life. Actually, yeah, I could use a beer. Cool, 7 o'clock at Murphy's. Make it 6. And Mike, bring Kevin and Danny if they're free. Everything okay? Just want to see the guys. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen and tried to process what had just happened. In the span of 15 minutes, my entire life had changed. My marriage was over. There was no coming back from this. But it wasn't just my marriage. Derek and Saddie had destroyed 2 families, not just one. Saddie came downstairs an hour later, dressed and composed. She'd fixed her makeup and put on one of her nice outfits, like she was going to a job interview instead of trying to save her marriage. "We need to talk," she said. "Yes, we do. But first, I need to know something. Does Jessica know?" "Of course not. Does anyone know?" She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. "Who, Saddie?" "Just, some of the girls know I've been having problems with our marriage." "What girls?" "Melissa, Jennifer, Linda, just a few close friends." Melissa, Jennifer, and Linda, 3 women I'd known for years, 3 women who'd been to our house for dinner parties, who'd celebrated holidays with us, who'd smiled to my face while knowing my wife was cheating on me. How much do they know? They know I've been confused about my feelings. They know about Derek. Another hesitation. Yes. So it wasn't just Saddie and Derek. It was Saddie, Derek, and at least 3 other people who'd been watching me play the fool for over a year. People who'd looked me in the eye and said nothing while I lived a lie. Anyone else? "Tom, does it matter?" "It matters to me." Derek told his friend Marcus, and I think Melissa might have mentioned it to her husband Paul. Marcus and Paul, 2 more people who'd known. 2 more people who'd watched me at neighborhood barbecues and community events, knowing what was happening behind my back. I felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't just betrayal. This was humiliation on a scale I'd never imagined. Half our social circle had known about the affair, and not one of them had thought to tell me. "Tom, I know this is hard, but we can work through this. People make mistakes." 14 months isn't a mistake, Saddie. It's a choice. A choice you made every single day for over a year. I'll end it with Derek. We can start over. You'll end it. It should never have started. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table, where we'd eaten thousands of meals together, where we'd paid bills and planned vacations and talked about our future, the future that no longer existed. "What do you want me to say, Tom? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I want you to tell me why. Why Derek? Why destroy 2 marriages? Why humiliate me in front of our friends? It wasn't supposed to happen. We were just talking, and he was having problems with Jessica, and I was feeling lonely because you work so much. Don't you dare blame this on my job. I'm not blaming you, I'm just trying to explain. There is no explanation that makes this okay." We sat in silence for a long time. Outside, I could hear kids playing in the neighborhood, normal sounds of a normal evening. But nothing would ever be normal again. "What happens now?" Saddie asked. "Now you call Derek and tell him to tell Jessica, or I will." "Tom, she's pregnant. This could what? Hurt her? You should have thought about that 14 months ago. Please don't do this." "I'm not doing anything. You did this. You and Derek did this." I stood up and grabbed my keys. "I'm going to meet Mike and the guys. When I get back, I want you to be gone." "Gone where?" "I don't care. Hotel, your sister's house, Derek's place. Anywhere but here." This is my house too. Not anymore. Murphy's bar was exactly what I needed. Dim lighting, cheap beer, and the kind of atmosphere where a man could drink away his problems without anyone asking questions. Mike was already there when I arrived, along with Kevin and Danny. These were my guys, the friends I'd counted on for 20 years. "You look like hell," Mike said as I sat down. "Feel worse than I look." Danny signaled the bartender for another round. "What's going on?" I took a long drink of beer and looked at my 3 best friends. These were the guys who'd helped me through my father's passing, who'd celebrated with me when I got my contractor's license, who'd been there for every major moment of my adult life. "Saddie's been cheating on me." The words hung in the air like smoke. Mike set down his beer hard enough that foam spilled over the rim. "What?" "Caught her this afternoon, in our bed, with Derek." "Derek?" Kevin's voice went up an octave. "Derek Hoffman? Jessica's husband, Derek?" "That's the one." Danny leaned back in his chair. "Jesus, Tom, how long?" 14 months. 14 months? Mike's face was getting red, the way it always did when he was angry. "That bastard has been coming to our poker games, our barbecues, acting like everything was normal." "Gets better," I said. Apparently half our social circle knew about it. I told them about Saddie's confession, about the friends who'd known and said nothing. With each name I mentioned, their faces got darker. "Melissa knew?" Danny asked. "My Melissa?" "Your wife knew, yeah." Danny's marriage to Melissa had always been solid, or so I'd thought. But if Melissa had known about Saddie's affair and hadn't told Danny, what did that say about their relationship? "And Paul knew too?" Kevin asked. "According to Saddie." Kevin and Paul had been friends since college. They worked together. Their kids played together. Their wives were in the same book club. If Paul had known and hadn't said anything to Kevin... Mike was quiet, which was unusual for him. Mike was the talker of the group, the one who always had an opinion about everything. "Mike, you okay?" He looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my stomach drop. "Tom, I need to tell you something." "What?" I knew. The bar seemed to get quieter, or maybe that was just the blood rushing in my ears. "You knew?" "Jenna told me about 6 months ago. She heard it from Melissa at book club." 6 months. My best friend had known for 6 months and hadn't said a word. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Jenna made me promise not to. She said it wasn't our business, that Saddie would figure it out on her own." "It wasn't your business? Your best friend's wife is cheating on him, and it's not your business?" "Tom, I wanted to tell you. I almost did a dozen times, but Jenna said..." "I don't give a damn what Jenna said." I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. The entire bar turned to look at us, but I didn't care. "You've known for 6 months that my wife was making a fool of me, and you said nothing. It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. You're supposed to be my friend." Kevin and Danny were looking back and forth between us, like they were watching a tennis match. "Tom, sit down," Kevin said. "Let's talk about this." "Did you know too?" "No, man. I swear I didn't know." "Danny?" "I had no idea. If I'd known, I would have told you." But even as Danny said it, I could see doubt creeping into his eyes. If Melissa had known, how could Danny not have suspected something? Mike was still sitting, staring at his beer. "Tom, I'm sorry, I should have told you." "Yeah, you should have." I threw a 20 on the table and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard Mike call my name, but I didn't turn around. 20 years of friendship, and when I'd needed him most, he'd chosen his wife's book club politics over our friendship. The drive home was a blur of anger and betrayal. It wasn't just Saddie anymore. It was Mike and Jenna, Melissa and Paul, Linda, and whoever she'd told. It was an entire network of people who'd known my wife was cheating and had decided collectively that I didn't deserve to know. Saddie's car was gone when I got home, but she'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "Tom, I'm staying at the Marriott downtown, room 237. Please call me when you're ready to talk. I love you. Saddie." I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. Then I went to the bedroom and stripped the bed, throwing the sheets and pillowcases into garbage bags. I'd burn them before I'd sleep on them again. My phone buzzed with a text from Mike. "Tom, please let me explain." I deleted it without responding. Another text, this one from Kevin. "Call me when you're ready to talk." Delete. Danny. "I'm here if you need anything." Delete. I poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey and sat in my living room, looking around at the life I'd built. Photos of Saddie and me on vacation, at friends' weddings, at family gatherings. All lies now. Every smile was fake, every happy moment tainted by the knowledge of what was really happening. My phone rang. Jessica. "Tom, is everything okay? Derek came home acting really strange, and he won't tell me what's wrong." Here it was, the moment of truth. I could lie, protect Derek and Saddie, keep Jessica's world intact for a little while longer. Or I could tell the truth and watch another life explode. "Jessica, you need to sit down." "What's wrong?" "Derek and Saddie have been having an affair." Silence. Long, terrible silence. "What?" "I caught them together this afternoon. They've been seeing each other for 14 months. I heard her sharp intake of breath, then what sounded like the phone being dropped. In the background, I could hear Derek's voice, urgent and panicked. "Jessica, are you there?" "I'm here." Her voice was different now, hollow. 14 months. "I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm so sorry." "The baby. Oh God, the baby." "Jessica, listen to me. You need to stay calm. Think about the baby." "How long have you known?" "I found out today. I came home early and found them together." "And you're just telling me now?" There was an edge to her voice that I didn't like. "Jessica, I found out 3 hours ago. I wanted to give Derek a chance to tell you himself, but 3 hours? You've known for 3 hours that my husband is cheating on me, and you're just now calling. I thought Derek should... Derek should what? Derek should have told me 14 months ago." She was crying now, huge sobs that made my chest ache. "Jessica, I know this is hard." "Hard? My husband has been sleeping with my sister for over a year. I'm 8 months pregnant, and you think it's hard?" "I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say." "You could have said something sooner. You could have told me the minute you found out." "I did tell you. I'm telling you now." 3 hours later? Do you know what 3 hours means to a pregnant woman who's been living a lie? The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, wondering how I'd become the villain in this story. I'd been the one betrayed, the one lied to, the one humiliated. But somehow, in Jessica's mind, I was the bad guy for not calling her immediately. My phone rang again. Saddie. "Tom, Jessica just called me screaming. You told her." "I told her the truth. I asked you to let me handle it." "No, you asked me not to tell her. There's a difference." "She's threatening to leave Derek. She's 8 months pregnant, Tom." "Then Derek should have thought about that before he decided to sleep with you. This is all falling apart." "Good. It should fall apart. It was built on lies." "Tom, please, we need to figure out how to handle this." "There's nothing to handle, Saddie. It's over. We're over." "Don't say that." "I'm saying it. I'll file for divorce on Monday." "Tom." I hung up and turned off the phone. The house felt different now, empty in a way that had nothing to do with Saddie being gone. It felt like a stage set, all the props of a happy marriage, with none of the substance. I walked through the rooms, seeing everything with new eyes. The couch where Saddie and I had watched movies together, had she been thinking about Derek? The kitchen table, where we'd eaten breakfast every morning, had she been texting him while I read the newspaper? I ended up in my workshop in the garage, the one place that felt truly mine. This was where I came to think, to work with my hands, to solve problems. But this problem couldn't be fixed with tools and elbow grease. My phone, which I'd turned back on, buzzed with messages. Saddie, Mike, Jessica, even Derek. I deleted them all without reading them. But then one came in that made me pause. It was from Marcus, Derek's friend. "Tom, I heard what happened. I'm sorry, man. For what it's worth, I told Derek he was making a mistake. I stared at the message for a long time. Marcus had known, had even tried to stop it, but he hadn't told me either. How many people had watched me live this lie? How many people had felt sorry for me while doing nothing to help? I typed back, "How long have you known?" The response came quickly. "About a year." Derek told me when it started. A year. Marcus had known for a year. Why didn't you tell me? Wasn't my place. I told Derek to end it or tell you himself. But you didn't tell me. No, I didn't. At least Marcus was honest about it. That was more than I could say for Mike. I turned off the phone again and opened a beer. Tomorrow I'd start putting my life back together. I'd call a divorce lawyer, figure out how to divide our assets, maybe put the house on the market. Tonight I'd just sit in my workshop and try to figure out how I'd become a stranger in my own life. But even as I sat there, I could feel something cold and hard settling in my chest. This wasn't just about moving on. This wasn't just about divorce and starting over. This was about making sure that everyone who'd betrayed me understood exactly what they'd done. Monday morning came too soon, and not soon enough. I'd spent the weekend alone, ignoring phone calls and text messages, trying to wrap my head around the magnitude of the betrayal. It wasn't just Saddie and Derek anymore. It was an entire network of people who'd known and chosen to keep me in the dark. I called in sick to work, the first time I'd done that in 3 years, and drove to downtown to meet with a divorce attorney. Patricia Wells came highly recommended, and her office reflected her reputation. Expensive furniture, law degrees on the wall, and the kind of confidence that cost $300 an hour. "Mr. Harrison," she said, shaking my hand with a firm grip, "I understand you're dealing with an infidelity situation. That's putting it mildly." I told her everything. The affair, the timeline, the network of friends who'd known. She took notes without showing any emotion, like she'd heard this story 1,000 times before. "Do you have any evidence of the affair?" I caught them in bed together. "Any photos, text messages, emails?" I didn't think to take pictures. I was a little shocked. She nodded. "Understandable. We'll need to document everything moving forward. Do you have access to your wife's phone records, email accounts?" "We share a phone plan. I can get the records." "Good. What about assets, joint accounts, property, investments?" We spent an hour going through my financial life, the house, our savings accounts, my retirement fund, Saddie's real estate business. It was amazing how quickly a 12-year marriage could be reduced to a spreadsheet. "I'll file the papers today," Patricia said. "Given the circumstances, I think we can make a strong case for you to keep the house and the majority of your assets. I don't want to destroy her financially. I just want out. Mr. Harrison, your wife conducted a 14-month affair with your brother-in-law. She humiliated you in front of your social circle. You don't owe her any favors." She was right, but it still felt wrong. Even after everything Saddie had done, the idea of leaving her with nothing didn't sit well with me. "Just make it fair," I said. "Fair is a relative concept in divorce court, but I'll do my best." I left Patricia's office feeling like I'd started something I couldn't stop. The divorce was in motion now, and there was no going back. My phone had been buzzing all morning with messages I'd been ignoring. Finally, I decided to deal with them. "Saddie. Tom, please call me. We need to talk about the house, the accounts, everything. Mike. I know you're mad, but we've been friends too long to let this destroy our friendship. Jessica. I'm sorry I yelled at you. This isn't your fault. Can we talk? Derek. Tom, I know I screwed up. Let me make this right." That last one almost made me laugh. Derek wanted to make it right. How exactly was he planning to do that? Invent a time machine? I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot, reading through the messages, when someone knocked on my window. It was Paul, Melissa's husband. I rolled down the window. "Paul. Tom, I heard what happened. I'm sorry, man." "Are you? Because according to Saddie, you've known about this for months." Paul's face went red. Look, I know how this looks. It looks like you and your wife knew my wife was cheating on me and decided not to tell me. It wasn't that simple. Everyone keeps saying that. It wasn't that simple for Mike. It wasn't that simple for you. But it seems pretty simple to me. You either tell your friend his wife is cheating, or you don't. Melissa made me promise not to say anything. And you chose your wife over your friend. Tom, come on. You know how women are about this stuff. They don't want their husbands getting involved in their friend's drama. Their friend's drama? This was my life, Paul. A few people in the parking lot were starting to stare. Paul glanced around nervously. Look, can we go somewhere and talk about this? Maybe grab lunch? I don't think so. Tom, we've been friends for 8 years. Have we? Because friends don't let friends live a lie for 14 months. I started my truck, but Paul grabbed the door. Wait, there's something else you need to know. What? It's not just Saddie and Derek. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Melissa told me last night. There are others. Others what? Other affairs, in our group. I turned off the truck. What are you talking about? Paul looked around the parking lot again, then leaned closer to the window. Jennifer's been seeing someone too, and Linda. Melissa thinks there might be more. Jennifer and Linda, 2 more wives in our social circle, 2 more marriages that were apparently falling apart while their husbands remained clueless. How long has Melissa known about this? About Jennifer? 6 months. Linda, maybe 3 months. And she didn't tell their husbands either. Tom, you have to understand. The women, they talk to each other about this stuff, but they don't want to be the ones to destroy marriages. So they'd rather let the husbands be humiliated. They think the affairs will end on their own. I stared at Paul, trying to process what he was telling me. It wasn't just my marriage that was a lie. It was multiple marriages in our social circle, and the wives had formed some kind of conspiracy of silence, protecting each other's secrets while their husbands lived in ignorance. Does Kevin know about Jennifer? I don't think so. And Linda's husband? Danny? No way, he'd lose his mind. Danny, my friend Danny, who'd sat in the bar 3 nights ago and sworn he'd had no idea about any of this. Danny, whose wife had been cheating on him for 3 months while he remained oblivious. Paul, I need you to listen to me very carefully. You're going to tell Danny about Linda. Tom, I can't. You can and you will, because if you don't, I will. Melissa will kill me. Melissa should have thought about that before she decided to keep secrets. Paul stepped back from the truck. Tom, you're making a mistake. This is going to destroy our whole group. Good. It should be destroyed. It's built on lies. I drove away, leaving Paul standing in the parking lot. But I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to Kevin's office. Kevin worked as an accountant in a small firm downtown. I'd never visited him at work before, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The receptionist looked surprised when I asked to see Kevin. He's with a client, but I can see if... Tell him it's Tom Harrison, and it's an emergency. 5 minutes later, Kevin appeared in the lobby, looking concerned. Tom, what's wrong? We need to talk, privately. He led me back to his office and closed the door. What's going on? You look terrible. Kevin, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to want to hear it. Okay. Jennifer's having an affair. The color drained from Kevin's face. He sat down heavily in his chair. What? Paul just told me. Melissa's known for 6 months. That's not possible. Jennifer would never... That's what I thought about Saddie. Kevin stared at me for a long moment, then reached for his phone. What are you doing? Calling Jennifer. Kevin, wait. Think about this. Do you really want to confront her over the phone at work? He put the phone down. How do you know Paul's telling the truth? Why would he lie? Maybe he's trying to deflect attention from the fact that he knew about Saddie. It was possible, but I didn't think so. Paul had looked genuinely uncomfortable when he'd told me about the other affairs. There's one way to find out, I said. How? We ask them, all of them. Tonight. Ask who? Everyone. Mike, Danny, Paul, Jennifer, Linda, Melissa. We get them all together and we ask them what they know. Kevin shook his head. Tom, that's crazy. You can't just ambush people like that. Why not? They ambushed me by keeping secrets for over a year. But if you're wrong, then I'll apologize. But if I'm right, then our friends have been lying to us for months, and we deserve to know the truth. Kevin was quiet for a long time, staring out his office window. How would we even do it? Dinner party, my house, tonight. Tell everyone it's important, that we need to talk about what happened with Saddie and me. And then what? Then we ask questions and see who squirms. Kevin looked at me like I'd lost my mind, and maybe I had, but I was tired of being the only one who didn't know what was happening in my own life. Kevin, these people watched me live a lie for over a year. Don't you want to know if Jennifer's been doing the same thing to you? That got to him. I could see it in his eyes. Okay, he said finally. But if this goes badly? It's already gone badly. We're just acknowledging it. By 6 o'clock that evening, I'd managed to convince everyone to come to dinner. It hadn't been easy. Mike was still angry about our confrontation at Murphy's, and Jennifer had claimed she was too busy. But I'd been persistent. I'd told them it was important, that I needed to talk to all my friends about how to move forward after the divorce. I'd ordered pizza and bought beer, nothing fancy. This wasn't about hospitality. Mike and Jenna arrived first, both of them looking uncomfortable. Mike had brought flowers, like he was trying to apologize without actually apologizing. Tom, Jenna said, giving me a hug that felt forced. I'm so sorry about everything. Are you? She pulled back, confused by my tone. Of course I am. Kevin and Jennifer came next, followed by Danny and Linda, then Paul and Melissa. By 7 o'clock, my living room was full of people who'd been my closest friends for years. People who'd celebrated birthdays and holidays with me, who'd helped me move furniture and paint rooms, who'd been part of every major moment of my adult life. People who'd betrayed me. Thanks for coming, I said once everyone had settled in with drinks. I know this is awkward, but I needed to talk to all of you about what happened with Saddie. Tom, Mike said, I want you to know how sorry I am. I should have told you. Yes, you should have, but you're not the only one. I looked around the room, watching faces. Melissa was staring at her hands. Linda kept glancing toward the door like she wanted to run. Jennifer was sitting stiffly next to Kevin, her arms crossed. See, I've learned some interesting things over the past few days. Things about who knew what and when they knew it. Tom, Jenna said, what are you getting at? I'm getting at the fact that my wife was having an affair for 14 months, and half the people in this room knew about it. Silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than words. Mike knew for 6 months. Jenna knew too. Paul and Melissa knew. Linda knew. With each name, the person mentioned either looked down or shifted uncomfortably. Anyone want to explain to me how 8 people managed to keep a secret from one person for over a year? Tom, Melissa said quietly. It wasn't like that. What was it like? We didn't want to hurt you. You didn't want to hurt me. How do you think I felt when I found out that not only was my wife cheating, but all my friends knew about it? Danny looked genuinely confused. Tom, I swear I didn't know anything about Saddie and Derek. I believe you, Danny. But tell me, how much do you know about Linda's activities? The room went dead quiet. Linda's face went white. What? Danny said. Linda, do you want to tell him, or should I? Tom, don't do this, Paul said. Don't do what? Tell the truth? Isn't that what friends are supposed to do? Danny was looking back and forth between Linda and me. Tell me what? Linda started crying. Danny, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry for what? She's been having an affair, I said when Linda couldn't get the words out. Danny stood up so fast he knocked over his beer. What? For 3 months. With her personal trainer. That's not... Linda, tell me that's not true. Linda was sobbing now, unable to speak. "It's true," Melissa said quietly. "I'm sorry, Danny." Danny looked like he'd been hit by a truck. You knew, and you didn't tell me." The girls thought she'd ended on her own. "The girls? What girls?" I stood up. "That's a good question. Jennifer, do you want to answer that?" Jennifer's face was stone. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really? Because Paul seems to think you're part of this little club." Kevin turned to look at his wife. "Jennifer?" "This is ridiculous," Jennifer said, but her voice was shaking. "Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like half the wives in this room have been cheating on their husbands, and the other half have been covering for them." "That's enough." Mike stood up. "Tom, I get that you're angry, but you can't just accuse people." "Can't I?" "Watch me." "Jennifer, are you having an affair?" "No." "Really? Because Melissa told Paul that you were." All eyes turned to Melissa, who looked like she wanted to disappear. "Melissa," Kevin said, "is that true?" Melissa was crying now too. "I'm sorry, I thought it would all work itself out." "So Jennifer is having an affair?" Danny asked. He was still standing, still reeling from the news about Linda. "With her boss," Melissa whispered. Kevin made a sound like he'd been punched. Jennifer jumped up from the couch. You promised you wouldn't say anything." "So it's true." Kevin's voice was barely a whisper. Jennifer looked around the room, trapped. "Kevin, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain how you've been sleeping with your boss. Explain how all your friends knew about it." "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think." The room erupted. Danny was yelling at Linda, Kevin was yelling at Jennifer, and Mike was yelling at me for starting the whole thing. "This is what you wanted," Mike shouted over the chaos, "to destroy everyone's marriage." "I didn't destroy anything. You all did that yourselves. By not telling you about Saddie. By lying, by keeping secrets, by making me look like a fool." Jenna stood up. "Tom, we were trying to protect you." "Protect me? How was letting me live a lie for 14 months protecting me?" "We thought Saddie would come to her senses." "And what about Jennifer? And Linda? Were they going to come to their senses too?" "This is insane," Paul said. "Tom, you're destroying people's lives." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just telling the truth." Linda was still sobbing. Danny was pacing back and forth, running his hands through his hair. Kevin was sitting on the couch with his head in his hands while Jennifer tried to talk to him. "Kevin, please, let me explain. It didn't mean anything. It was just what? Just intimacy, just betrayal, just lies." "It's over. I ended it last week." "Last week? How long has it been going on?" Jennifer looked at Melissa, who was still crying. "How long, Jennifer?" 8 months. Kevin stood up and walked toward the door. "I can't do this." "Kevin, wait." But he was gone, leaving Jennifer standing in my living room, tears streaming down her face. Danny had stopped pacing and was staring at Linda. 3 months? She nodded. "With Brad? Your trainer Brad?" Another nod. "I helped you pay for those training sessions. I thought you were trying to get in shape for me." "I was. At first I was, but then you decided to sleep with him instead." Danny headed for the door too. "I'll be at my brother's house. Don't come there. Don't call me. Don't do anything." And then he was gone too, leaving Linda crying on my couch. Mike was still standing, still angry. "Are you happy now, Tom? You've destroyed 3 marriages in one night." "I didn't destroy anything. They destroyed themselves." "By having affairs?" "People make mistakes, Tom. 14-month mistakes, 8-month mistakes, 3-month mistakes. These weren't mistakes, Mike. These were choices." "So what? You're the morality police now." "No, I'm just tired of being lied to by people I trusted." Mike looked around the room at the crying women and the empty chairs where Kevin and Danny had been sitting. "You know what, Tom? Maybe we didn't tell you about Saddie because we knew you'd do something like this." "Something like what? Tell the truth?" "Something cruel and vindictive and designed to hurt as many people as possible." "I didn't sleep with anyone's wife, Mike. I didn't lie to anyone for months. I didn't make anyone live a lie. No, you just destroyed a room full of people because you couldn't handle your own problems. My problems? My problems were created by the people in this room. Mike shook his head and helped Jenna up from the couch. Come on, Jenna, let's go. Mike, I said as they headed for the door. He turned back. For the record, your wife knew about Saddie for 6 months and made you promise not to tell me. What does that say about your marriage? Mike's face went red, but he didn't answer. He just left, taking Jenna with him. Paul was helping Melissa toward the door. As they passed me, Melissa grabbed my arm. Tom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about all of this. Are you sorry you knew, or sorry you got caught? She didn't answer. That left me alone with Linda and Jennifer, both of them still crying. I should go, Jennifer said. Where? Kevin doesn't want to see you. I'll figure something out. She left without another word. Linda was still on my couch, sobbing into her hands. Linda, you should probably go too. Where am I supposed to go? Danny won't talk to me. That's not my problem. She looked up at me, her makeup ruined, her face blotchy from crying. How could you do this? How could you destroy everyone's life like this? I didn't destroy your life, Linda. You did that when you decided to sleep with your trainer. But you didn't have to tell Danny like that. You could have talked to me first. Like everyone talked to me first? She didn't have an answer for that. Linda, you need to leave. Tom, please, I know you're angry, but I'm not angry. I'm done. I'm done with the lies. I'm done with the secrets. And I'm done with friends who aren't really friends. She gathered her purse and headed for the door, but she stopped and turned back. You know this won't make you feel better, right? Destroying everyone else's marriage won't fix yours. Maybe not, but at least now everyone knows the truth. After she left, I sat in my empty living room, surrounded by empty beer bottles and the wreckage of 8 years of friendships. My phone was already buzzing with angry text messages, but I didn't read them. I'd done what I set out to do. I told the truth. I'd made sure that everyone who'd betrayed me understood exactly what they'd done. But Linda was right about one thing. It didn't make me feel better. It made me feel worse. The next morning brought consequences I hadn't anticipated. My phone had 37 missed calls and 62 text messages, most of them angry. But it wasn't just anger from the people who'd been at the dinner party. Word had spread through our social circle like wildfire. The first call I answered was from Patricia Wells, my divorce attorney. Mr. Harrison, I've been getting some interesting calls this morning. What kind of calls? Apparently, several people are claiming you're having some kind of breakdown. There's talk of you being unstable, possibly dangerous. Dangerous? I exposed some affairs. I didn't hurt anyone. That's not how it's being portrayed. I'm hearing stories about you ambushing people, making threats, trying to destroy marriages out of spite. I sat down heavily at my kitchen table. That's not what happened. What did happen? I told her about the dinner party, about the confrontations, about the affairs that had been exposed. She listened without interrupting. Mr. Harrison, I have to ask, did you plan this as some kind of revenge? I planned to find out the truth. And now that you have the truth, what do you plan to do with it? I don't know. Well, you need to figure it out quickly, because this could affect your divorce proceedings. If Saddie's attorney can paint you as unstable or vindictive, it could hurt your case. After I hung up with Patricia, I tried to process what she'd told me. Somehow, I'd become the villain in this story. The man who'd been betrayed by his wife and lied to by his friends was now being portrayed as the bad guy. My doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Kevin standing on my porch. I opened the door. Kevin looked like he hadn't slept. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair was a mess, and his eyes were red. Can I come in? Sure. We sat in my living room, the same room where everything had exploded the night before. Jennifer's gone, Kevin said. Gone where? I don't know. She packed a bag and left this morning. Left a note saying she needed time to think. Kevin, I'm sorry. Are you? Because it seems like you wanted this to happen. I wanted the truth. The truth. The truth is that my wife has been sleeping with her boss for 8 months, and now she's gone. The truth is that my kids are asking where mommy is, and I don't know what to tell them. The truth is that my life is falling apart. I didn't know what to say to that. But you know what the worst part is? Kevin continued. The worst part is that I think I knew. You knew. Not consciously. But looking back, there were signs. Late nights at work, new clothes, new perfume. She was different. Happier, actually. And I think part of me knew why. Then why are you angry at me? Because knowing and having it thrown in your face in front of all your friends are two different things. He had a point. Kevin, I didn't know it would go like that. I just wanted answers. Well, you got them. And you destroyed 3 marriages in the process. I didn't destroy anything. Yes, you did. Maybe the marriages were already broken, but you're the one who took a sledgehammer to them. Kevin stood up to leave, but stopped at the door. Danny's in the hospital. What? He had a panic attack last night. His brother called an ambulance. He's okay, but the doctors want to keep him for observation. Jesus. Linda's been calling everyone, trying to get someone to visit him with her. No one will do it. She's been cut off from the group completely. And Jennifer. Like I said, she's gone. Her boss fired her, by the way. His wife found out about the affair and threatened to divorce him too. So now Jennifer doesn't have a husband or a job. Kevin left me sitting in my living room, feeling like the worst person in the world. I'd wanted justice, but this felt more like destruction. My phone rang. It was Danny's brother, Mark. Tom, it's Mark. I think you should come to the hospital. How is he? He's okay physically, but he's asking for you. For me? I thought he'd hate me. He doesn't hate you. He says you're the only one who told him the truth. The hospital was a 20-minute drive, but it felt like hours. I'd been to this hospital before, when my father had his heart attack, when Saddie had her appendix out, for various emergencies over the years, but I'd never been there because of something I'd done. Danny was in a private room, hooked up to monitors but looking alert. He smiled when he saw me, which was the last thing I'd expected. Tom, thanks for coming. Danny, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. What? The panic attack? That wasn't your fault. That was 3 months of lies catching up with me all at once. I sat in the chair next to his bed. How are you feeling? Physically? Fine. Emotionally? Like I've been hit by a truck. But you know what? I'm also relieved. Relieved? I've been feeling crazy for months. Linda was acting strange, distant. She'd get texts and smile, then hide her phone. She'd go to the gym for 3 hours at a time. She bought new underwear and claimed it was for me, but she never wore it around me. You suspected? I suspected, but I didn't want to believe it. And every time I brought it up, she'd make me feel like I was being paranoid and jealous. She'd say I was imagining things, that I was being insecure. That's called gaslighting. Yeah, I know that now. But at the time, I thought maybe I was going crazy. Maybe I was just being a jealous husband. Danny adjusted his position in the bed, wincing slightly. Tom, can I ask you something? Sure. When you found Saddie and Derek together, what was the first thing you felt? I thought about it. Relief. Relief? Yeah, because suddenly everything made sense. All the weird behavior, all the lies, all the times I felt like something was wrong but couldn't put my finger on it. It all made sense. Danny nodded. That's exactly how I felt last night. When you said Linda was having an affair, my first thought wasn't anger or hurt, it was relief. Because finally, I wasn't crazy. We sat in silence for a while, listening to the beeping of the monitors. Danny, I'm sorry about how it came out. I should have talked to you privately. Maybe, but if you had, would I have believed you? Or would I have defended Linda and gotten angry at you for making accusations? I don't know. I do. I would have defended her. Just like Mike defended not telling you about Saddie. Just like Paul defended keeping Melissa's secrets. We all want to believe the best about the people we love, even when the evidence is right in front of us. So you're not angry at me? I'm angry at Linda. I'm angry at myself for being blind to what was happening, but I'm not angry at you for telling me the truth. A nurse came in to check Danny's vitals, and I stepped out into the hallway. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and sadness, and I felt like I belonged there. My phone buzzed with a text from Saddie. "Tom, I heard what happened last night. We need to talk." I typed back, "There's nothing to talk about." "There is. About us. About the divorce. About how to move forward." "I'm moving forward without you. Tom, please. I know you're angry, but what you did last night was cruel." Cruel. That seemed to be the word everyone was using to describe what I'd done. What I did was tell the truth. You destroyed people's lives. People destroyed their own lives. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. Can we meet, just to talk? I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to see Saddie, to try to understand how we'd gotten to this point. But a bigger part of me knew that talking to her would just make everything worse. "No. Tom, I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. You loved me while you were sleeping with Derek for 14 months. It wasn't about love. It was about feeling wanted, feeling desired. You worked so much and I felt ignored. So you decided to sleep with your sister's husband? I know how it sounds, but it wasn't planned. It just happened. For 14 months, it just happened." She didn't respond to that. I went back into Danny's room. He was sitting up, looking more alert. "Everything okay?" "Saddie wants to talk." "Are you going to?" "No. There's nothing left to say." "Good for you." "Danny, can I ask you something now?" "Sure." "Do you think I'm a bad person for what I did last night?" He considered the question for a long time. "I think you're a person who got hurt and wanted everyone else to hurt too. I think you're human." "That doesn't answer my question." "No, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you did a bad thing for good reasons." "What's the difference?" "Bad people don't ask if they're bad people." I stayed with Danny for another hour, until the doctor came in and said he could go home. Mark was going to stay with him for a few days, make sure he was okay. As I was leaving the hospital, I ran into Linda in the parking lot. She looked terrible, worse than she had the night before. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and she looked like she hadn't slept. "Tom." "Linda." "How is he?" "He's okay. He's going home." "Will you tell him I'm sorry? Will you tell him I love him?" "You can tell him yourself." "He won't see me. He won't take my calls." "Can you blame him?" She started crying again. "I know I screwed up. I know I hurt him. But I love him, Tom. I love my husband." Funny way of showing it. I ended it with Brad last week. Before all this happened, I realized I was making a mistake. "You realized you were making a mistake after 3 months?" I was confused. I was lonely. Danny works all the time and I felt invisible. "So you decided to sleep with your trainer?" "It wasn't supposed to happen. Brad was just someone who paid attention to me, who made me feel attractive. And then one day, things went too far." "One day? Or 90 days?" She didn't answer. "Linda, you made your choice. You chose to have an affair. You chose to lie to Danny for 3 months. You chose to let him think he was going crazy when he suspected something was wrong. You don't get to play the victim now." "I'm not playing the victim. I know I messed up. But did you have to humiliate me in front of everyone? Did you have to humiliate Danny by having an affair? That's different." "How is it different?" "Because Danny didn't know. What you did last night, that was public humiliation." "And what you did for 3 months was private humiliation. Which one is worse?" She didn't have an answer for that either. I left Linda standing in the parking lot and drove home, but instead of going into the house, I sat in my truck in the driveway, trying to figure out what I'd become. 24 hours ago, I'd been the victim, the betrayed husband, the friend who'd been lied to, the man who deserved sympathy and support. Now I was the villain, the man who'd destroyed marriages, who'd caused a friend to have a panic attack, who'd driven people from their homes. The worst part was, I wasn't sure they were wrong. 2 weeks after the dinner party from hell, I was sitting in Patricia Wells's office, signing the final divorce papers. Saddie had agreed to an uncontested divorce, which meant we could split our assets without going to court. She got half of everything, which was more generous than Patricia had recommended, but I just wanted it to be over. "She's not contesting the adultery clause?" Patricia asked. "No, she knows she can't." "And she's agreeing to the division of assets?" "She is." Patricia reviewed the papers one more time. "Mr. Harrison, I have to say, this is one of the most amicable divorces I've handled given the circumstances." Amicable wasn't the word I would have used, but I understood what she meant. There was no fighting over money or property, no custody battles since we didn't have children, no drawn-out court proceedings. Just the end of a 12-year marriage, reduced to legal documents and signatures. "What about the house?" "I'm keeping it, for now." "Planning to sell?" "I don't know yet." The truth was, I couldn't imagine living in the house where I'd found Saddie and Derek together, but I also couldn't imagine living anywhere else. It was the only home I'd known as an adult, the place where I'd planned to grow old with the woman I'd thought I'd spend my life with. After I left Patricia's office, I drove around town aimlessly, not ready to go home yet. I found myself in the parking lot of Murphy's Bar, the place where this had all started 2 weeks ago. Mike was inside, sitting at the same table where I'd told him and the others about Saddie's affair. He was alone, nursing a beer and staring at his phone. I almost left. Mike and I hadn't spoken since the dinner party, and I wasn't sure he'd want to see me, but something made me go inside. "Mind if I sit?" Mike looked up, surprised. "Tom." "Mike." I sat down and ordered a beer. We sat in silence for a few minutes, both of us unsure what to say. "How are you holding up?" Mike finally asked. "I've been better. You?" "Same." "How's Jenna?" "She's okay. Angry at me, but okay." "Angry at you?" Mike took a long drink of his beer. "She thinks I should have told you about Saddie from the beginning. Says if I'd been a real friend, none of this would have happened." "She's probably right." "Yeah, she is. Tom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, and I'm sorry about how everything went down. I'm sorry too. About the dinner party. About the way I handled everything." "You were hurt. You were angry. I get it. That doesn't make it right." We sat in silence again, two old friends trying to figure out if there was anything left of their friendship. "Have you heard from Kevin?" I asked. "Yeah, he and Jennifer are trying to work things out. She moved back home last week." "And Danny?" "He filed for divorce. Linda moved in with her sister." "How's he doing?" "Better than expected, actually. He says he feels like himself again for the first time in months." I nodded. That made sense. Danny had been living in a fog of confusion and self-doubt, and now that the truth was out, he could start to heal. "Mike, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you think I'm a bad person?" Mike considered the question, just like Danny had in the hospital. "I think you're a person who got hurt and reacted badly. I think you're human. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. Tom, what happened to you was terrible. Saddie betrayed you, and a bunch of us made it worse by keeping it secret. You had every right to be angry. But not every right to destroy other people's marriages. Did you destroy them, or did you just expose what was already broken? I don't know anymore." Mike finished his beer and signaled for another round. "Tom, I've been thinking about this a lot over the past 2 weeks. About what happened, about why it happened, about what we all could have done differently. And I think the real problem wasn't the affairs. It was the secrets. All of us keeping secrets from each other, thinking we were protecting people when we were really just protecting ourselves." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I didn't tell you about Saddie because I didn't want to deal with the consequences. I didn't want to be the messenger who got shot. I didn't want to be responsible for breaking up your marriage. So you let me live a lie instead. Yeah, and that was selfish and cowardly. And the women? Melissa and Linda and the others? Same thing. They didn't want to be responsible for breaking up marriages, so they kept each other's secrets and let their husbands live in ignorance. I thought about what Mike was saying. It made sense in a depressing way. So what you're saying is that everyone was more concerned with protecting themselves than protecting their friends. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm no different. I exposed everyone's secrets to protect myself from looking like a fool. Maybe, but Tom, you were the victim here. You had the right to be angry. Did I have the right to hurt innocent people? What innocent people? Kevin's kids, Danny's kids, Jennifer and Linda's families. Mike was quiet for a long time. I don't know, he said finally. I honestly don't know. We finished our beers in silence. As I was getting ready to leave, Mike grabbed my arm. Tom, for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Really? Really. It was messy and ugly and it hurt a lot of people. But it was honest, and maybe that's what we all needed. I left Mike at the bar and drove home. But instead of going inside, I walked around to my backyard and sat on the deck I'd built 3 years ago. Saddie had helped me design it, had picked out the stain color, had been excited about all the entertaining we'd do out there. We'd had exactly 2 parties on that deck. My phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Danny. Tom, I wanted to thank you. I typed back. For what? For telling me the truth. I know it wasn't easy, and I know people are giving you a hard time about it, but I needed to know. How are you doing? Better every day. I start counseling next week, and I'm thinking about taking a vacation. Maybe go visit my cousin in Colorado. That sounds good. Tom, I know people are saying you handled things badly, but I want you to know that I'm grateful. You saved me from living a lie. I'm glad something good came out of this mess. More than you know. I talked to Kevin yesterday. He says things are better with Jennifer now than they've been in months. Apparently, ending the affair and coming clean has made her realize what she was about to lose. That was something, at least. What about Linda? What about her? Do you miss her? I miss the woman I thought she was, but that woman never existed. I understood that feeling completely. After I finished texting with Danny, I sat on my deck until the sun went down, thinking about everything that had happened over the past few weeks. My marriage was over, my social circle was destroyed, and I'd become the villain in my own story. But I was also free. Free from lies, free from secrets, free from the exhausting work of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. My phone rang. It was Saddie. Tom? Saddie. I just wanted to call and say goodbye. I'm leaving town tomorrow. Where are you going? My cousin in Phoenix offered me a job. I think it's time for a fresh start. That's probably a good idea. Tom, I want you to know that I'm sorry, not just for the affair, but for everything. For the lies, for the humiliation, for the way I handled everything. I know. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I thought about that question. 2 weeks ago, the answer would have been an immediate no. But sitting on my deck, watching the stars come out, I realized that holding on to anger was just another kind of prison. Maybe, someday. I hope so. I hope you find someone who deserves you. Saddie? Yeah? I hope you figure out what you're looking for. What do you mean? I mean, I hope you figure out what was missing in your life that made you think having an affair was the answer, because until you do, you're just going to keep making the same mistakes. She was quiet for a long time. You're probably right. Take care of yourself, Saddie. You too, Tom. After I hung up, I went inside and looked around my empty house. It felt different now, not like a museum of a failed marriage, but like a blank canvas. A place where I could start over, build something new, maybe even be happy again. I opened a beer and sat in my living room, the same room where I'd confronted all my friends 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow, I'd start figuring out what came next. Maybe I'd sell the house, maybe I'd keep it. Maybe I'd try to rebuild my friendships, maybe I'd make new ones. But tonight, I was just going to sit in my empty house and be grateful for the silence. No lies, no secrets, no pretending. Just the truth, ugly and painful and liberating as it was. My phone buzzed one last time. It was a text from Kevin. "Tom, Jennifer and I talked tonight. We want you to know that we don't blame you for what happened. You did what you thought was right, and we respect that. If you ever want to grab a beer and talk, let me know." I smiled and typed back, "Thanks, Kevin. I'd like that." And for the first time in 2 weeks, I actually meant it. Maybe I wasn't the villain in this story after all. Maybe I was just a man who'd been pushed too far and had pushed back. Maybe I was just human. Maybe that was enough.